What's going on, everyone? So yesterday we got some just tragic news in regards to the Memphis Grizzlies. Ja Morant is going to miss the remainder of the season. Ja Morant suffered a shoulder tear to his labrum, which now he is having surgery and will miss the remainder of the season. So this basically just whittled away any opportunity that the Memphis Grizzlies had to turn their season around. They are currently sitting in the 13th seed in the Western Conference at 13-23. They were on a 2-game win streak at the time. Ja Morant played 9 games and they won 6 of them, I believe. So this was a team that was really trying to make that push to get into the play-in and maybe even potentially the playoffs if they could go on a crazy enough run. And you never know, circumstances happen, and key injuries, things like that. But unfortunately, I just think all hope is lost at this point. What Ja Morant does for this team is immeasurable. I mean, Memphis was terrible. And I mean, terrible before the Ja Morant injury, when he was out with the 25-game suspension. He comes back, rights the ship, and they were making headway. But they're still 4.5 games out of the 10th seed, and I just don't see them making that ground unless, again, something crazy happens. But even then, even if something crazy does happen, without Ja Morant, I don't see the Grizzlies being able to win enough games over the remainder of the season to put them in that position. And this is something that is a risk when you're talking about a player missing 25 games and he couldn't do team activities and all that stuff, right? Because it wasn't like he could continue to work out at the Grizzlies facility. It wasn't like he could work and train on the court and with his players and stuff. No, he was suspended, right? So the problem is that you ran that risk, and it was a concern, and it was something that we've talked about in previous videos in the past of even if he does come back, there is the concern of injury because he hasn't had the reps and, gotten his feet under him and stuff like that enough to where he can just go full motor 100%. And the problem was the Grizzlies were so far behind that it didn't allow Ja to kind of wean into things, right? He wasn't able to manage his minutes and stuff like that. That's usually why you see when guys are out for an extended period of time, they manage minutes and, you're not playing on as heavy of a role and stuff like that. Even stars. Sometimes they'll have stars play in the G League before. Well, not stars, but, certain players will play in the G League before when they come back from injury. Or they'll, come off the bench, right? You'll see stuff like that because you don't want to run the risk of guys having to jump in and immediately go 100%. Ja, unfortunately, just had a season-ending series or injury. And, I mean, look, in my opinion, I thought the Grizzlies made very questionable moves in the offseason. I understand they lost Dillon Brooks and they wanted to kind of replace him, but you go and you trade for Marcus Smart and then you sign Derrick Rose. I understand you're okay, we need somebody to come in and make up for Ja Morant, but it wasn't like he was going to miss the season at the time, right? And I think, with Tyus Jones, you could have, he understood the system. You were in the thick of it with him before, right? When Ja missed games, you were winning it. I just thought Memphis, planned as if he was going to miss the entirety of the season rather than hey, he's going to be back in 25 games. We just need to compete and be good enough. Let's get pieces that make sense around Ja and also keep the pieces that we have that have worked when he's been out before. I just thought they should have, maybe made a slight left and instead they just made a sharp turn, right? But now, personally, I think with this news, I think the Memphis Grizzlies should just sell the farm, right? Obviously, you're not trading Triple J or Ja or anything like that. I'm not saying get rid of your stars, but I definitely think that there are players like Marcus Smart. If I was Memphis, I would look and see what is there for Marcus. I'm not saying you have to trade these guys, right? But if you can get a good offer from a contending team that's man, we could really use Marcus Smart as a defensive guard, whatever, why not go get that? Because again, Marcus Smart I know he's had good games. I know he's had good streaks. I know he's brought toughness. But the reason Dillon Brooks worked was because of Dillon Brooks' size. And you were already small. They need a big defensive wing, right? What they should have been doing is they should have been trying to push for OG Anunoby or something, right? That's what they need. They need somebody like that. Even a Pascal Siakam. But I I just don't think Pascal would re-sign with the Grizzlies. So I don't think that that's the move. But I think that there is a real argument. The Grizzlies should basically shop everybody not named Triple J and see what you could get. Again, you don't have to trade guys. If a deal isn't there, you don't. But if you can basically spend this year, because it's a dead year anyway, right? Your season's over. So if you can spend this year to now look ahead for next year and put the proper pieces that you believe would make you a contender next season when Ja is healthy and ready to go, that's what I would do. Because there's not going to be a move that you're going to make that all of a sudden is going to make you a title contender without Ja. It's just not going to happen. But you could go and make the moves in trades to where it's like, oh man, if we had Ja, which we will next year, we would be a contender. That's the move I'd be looking to do. I'd be looking to try to get more complementary pieces. Like I said, go get a 3-and-D style wing. Maybe go look to go add a better center, right? Like, and then because you could play Triple J at the 4, right? Like if Indiana starts crumbling, can you find a way to go get like a Miles Turner or something, right? Just throwing a name out there. But I just think the Grizzlies should start looking to move some guys, try to see what you can do, see if there's any type of value that teams perceive with these guys. And then if there's something there that makes sense, you take it, right? Again, Marcus Smart, I think makes a ton of sense. Luke Kennard, right? There's rumors that he is, or reports that he is available, that teams that for the right price you could get him. I agree, right? Start shipping these guys off. Start putting the pieces to the puzzle, right? You have Triple J, you have Ja Morant, you have Desmond Baines. Those are kind of your core guys. Everything else I think is interchangeable. But I think you could build a more comparable roster. The problem is like a lot of your guys outside of like Kennard and Marcus Smart are all like on like 2-3 million a year deals. Like they don't have like several like large salary guys, right? And I don't think you should trade Brandon Clark and Steven Adams, right? I mean, those two guys being injured. I know Brandon Clark's supposed to come back at some point, but I think you have your foundation. If you can take some of the pieces that you have that maybe make sense for other teams and other players, like again, a Luke Kennard, I think some teams might see value in him as a 3-point threat, as a guy that can, spread the floor a little bit. You look at teams like Boston. Boston really wants to add some bench depth and stuff, right? To me, if you could find a team that, okay, like they have this complementary player, or even if you're flipping, like maybe you're taking Luke Kennard and Marcus Smart and you're going and getting like a mid-tier guy, something, right? Like, because I think that they need upgrades in certain spots, particular out on the perimeter, that 3-and-D style guy. Like I said, maybe go get a true center, somebody that can add size. I know that was the idea of Steven Adams and stuff like that, but I think that there are things that Memphis really needs and could use for the foreseeable future. That's my thing. Again, the season is dead. The season's a wash. You're not doing anything. You're not making the play-in, and even if you did, you're not winning a chip. Like you're not advancing anywhere. You're not beating any of these teams in a playoff series without Ja Morant. So I don't see a scenario where it makes sense to just kind of stand pat and do nothing. Again, I'm not saying you trade them just to trade them, right? You're not just selling Kennard just to say, oh, hey, we got rid of him. Like, no, like it has to make sense. If you find something that makes sense, then I think you make the move. I think you make the push. I think you start positioning yourself for next season so Ja can spend the rest of the season, the offseason, get himself together, get himself right, get ready to bounce back, get his conditioning down, getting everything together, and then ride into this 2024-2025 NBA season with a kind of a revamp roster, and now you could be one of the top teams in the league. That's the idea. That's the goal. And even like I wouldn't even mind if the Grizzlies shopped around Desmond Bane. I know Memphis fans might not like that. But again, if you could get the right piece, again, you don't just trade him just to trade him. But like, if you could get the right piece that makes sense, or the right pieces that make sense, then again, if the trade's there. Now, you could make the argument you don't do that because if you don't end up finding the trade and you don't trade him, then there's the risk of like him now being upset and wanting out. Right? There is that. And I understand you want to keep the nucleus of Ja, Baines, and Triple J. And Baines has been very good for Memphis. But like Ja's your guy, Triple J's your number 2. Right? And I understand Baines provides a 3-point shoot, stuff like that. But if you could get your clear cut, like third guy, like this guy will take us to the next level, then I don't hate it. Again, you don't just trade him. But if you can get the right, if you can make the right moves, I don't think anyone should be safe besides Ja Morant, Triple J. Right? I think those are the only 2 guys that not untouchable, because I don't think anyone's untouchable. Right? Again, like, if you could trade Triple J for Giannis right now, you would do it, right? So he's not untouchable. But, you know, again, he's one of the guys that you're only trading on super rare circumstances, right? Baines, I put him in that conversation of like, you're only trading him for the right circumstances, but I think the circumstances would be not as crazy as like Triple J's would be. That makes sense. But again, it has to be the right moves. Memphis, they, even with their current roster, like, were they winning a champ? Like, let's say Ja was healthy all year. They winning a championship this year? I don't think so. I don't think that they're one of the top 5 teams in the league, even if Ja was fully healthy all season. Even if they were, even if they were to, like, let's say Ja played from the beginning, right? And they finish as the 2 seed in the West again. I still don't buy them as a contender. I don't. I think that they are a good regular season team. I just don't think that they're good enough to beat and win an NBA championship. I think if they played the Lakers, they'd lose again. I think if they played Denver, they would lose. Boston, I think, beats them. Milwaukee, I think, beats them. Right? Like, those are just the top teams right there. I think Minnesota beats them. Right? Like, there's at least 5 or 6 teams that I would put ahead of Memphis, even if Ja was 100% healthy and playing all season. Right? Even if they were looking like one of the better teams in the league. Right? Like, OKC has been fantastic this year. And currently constructed, I don't think that they win an NBA championship. I don't. Right? Now, if they made some big trade at the trade deadline or something, then maybe we'd be a conversation. And that's the same thing with the Grizzlies. Like, right? Like, if they made some big impact move or something like that, then maybe that changes the conversation. So, my thing is, like, use this off season, because it's what it's going to be, an off season. You're not going anywhere. Use this to now go and get the pieces you need and put yourself in a position to go make the moves for next year. So that way you and Ja Morant can compete and contend for actual championship. It's kind of how I look at it. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? Do you agree with my points? Do you disagree with my points? Are you somewhere in between? Again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I would love to hear it, so let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. It helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate you all. See you in the next one. Thank you.